Now let's go through the second one, which is service oriented architecture. Okay, let's see one example. This time it's multi-station restaurant. Imagine a restaurant where different stations handle specific tasks. Okay, where one for appetizers, one for main course, one for dessert, another for drinks. Each station is like a service, specializing in its own area. So restaurant, we have restaurant, multi-story restaurant, and we have different stalls, right, with different stalls, and those stalls we need to just consider those are different services. And we are talking about service oriented architecture, or SOA. Now let's see order fulfillment, how it will be done. When a customer places an order, the server relays it to the appropriate station or counter, right? If a customer orders a burger and a slice of cake, the appetizer station prepares the starter, the main course station cooks the burger, and the dessert station makes the cake, right? So those three services will be invoked. Each station can operate independently. Service oriented architecture. Three services, they are working independently. If the dessert station is busy making cakes, it doesn't affect the main course station. Yeah, which makes sense. Which can continue preparing burgers. This separation allows for flexibility and efficiency. Easy changes. If the restaurant decides to introduce a new type of drink or a special dessert, they can simply add a new station without having to overhaul the entire restaurant. Each service can be updated or replaced independently. So what we learned with this example, modular services. Each part of the restaurant operates independently but communicates with others as needed, because there are different services, right? Different counters, different services. Efficient workflow. Orders can be fulfilled quickly because each station specializes in specific type of food or drink, right? Flexibility. Changes can be made to one part of the restaurant, like adding a new dessert, without disrupting the entire operation. So now let's see what is service oriented architecture all about. SOA. SOA is an architectural pattern style that allows different services to communicate with each other over a network, typically using standard protocols. It promotes the development of software applications as a collection of loosely coupled interoperable services that can be independently developed, deployed, and maintained. And loosely coupled, okay, this is the keyword. Loosely coupled means these different modules, different services, they are not dependent on each other. That's why loosely coupled, right? And they are independent in nature, independently can be developed, deployed, and maintained, right? And that is the whole key of service oriented architecture. That's why it's service oriented, because different services and it's oriented around those services. That's why it's service oriented architecture. Let's see the key characteristics of SOA. Okay, first one is loose coupling. Services are designed to be independent of one another. Changes to one service do not significantly affect another, allowing for easier maintenance and updates. Interoperability. SOA enables different services potentially built on different platforms or technologies to work together seamlessly. This is achieved through standardized communication protocol, HTTP, SOAP, REST-based. So what does that mean? So for example, we have different services, and it is not even necessary that those services are built on same platform. So for example, one service is available maybe on AWS API endpoint. Another service is totally is available on some different external API system, but is exposed using different flavors. We have the different protocols. For example, REST-based APIs are available, right? Different services. Platform is also different. Doesn't matter at all. Reusability. Services are designed to be reusable across different applications and projects. This reduces redundancy and accelerates development. So for example, the same service we are using for our application, maybe we have different applications available, right? And the same service we are using for another application for the same customer, right? Discoverability. Services can be easily discovered and accessed through service registries, allowing developers to find existing service for reuse. Abstraction. The internal workings for a service are hidden from the user. Users interact with the service through well-defined interfaces, which abstracts the underlying complexity. So this means, we'll just the user, the consumer will just be able to see the abstract layer, means what is the request contract, what are we need to pass in the header, for example, if it is REST based API, right? Not the implementation, how they are going to utilize those request parameters, attributes, and what is the business logic written. That of course is hidden. Only the required contract is visible to the consumer. Now let's see the components of SOA. So we have services, the fundamental building block of service oriented architecture. Each service represents a specific business function and exposes its capabilities through an interface. Service registry, a centralized directory where services are listed and can be discovered by other services or application. It provides metadata about each service, including its functionality and endpoint. Service consumer, any application or components that consumes service provided by the service oriented architecture. This could be a web application, mobile app, or another services. If you guys have seen the Swagger APIs, right, the Swagger documentation is kind of service registry where we have for a particular provider application, right, we can see what are the services available, what kind of request contract we have, what we need to pass in the header, what we passed in the request body, etc., right? And we can just use which API we need, right? So those type of service registry, and then different services are there, and then finally we can consume those services. We have service contract, a formal agreement that defines the interface and behavior of a service. This contract ensures that the service consumer and provider have a mutual understanding of how the service should function. So for example, one of the contract could be that if it is a REST based service, that which request parameter or attributes it's going to accept. So for example, consider if it is a login function, right? So it will require a username, a password, maybe it requires a reCAPTCHA token, etc., right? All those things. So that is kind of a contract, what we need to pass in the header, right? What is the endpoint, all those are service contracts. Communication protocols. So it relies on various protocols for service communication, such as simple object access protocol or REST and others. So of course, these are the communication protocols. Let's see the advantages of service oriented architecture. Scalability. Services can be scaled independently based on demand, allowing organization to optimize resource usage. Flexibility. Organizations can adapt to changing business needs by modifying or replacing specific services without overhauling the entire system. Easier integration. SOA facilitates integration with existing systems and third-party services, promoting a more cohesive IT ecosystem. Reduced time to market. Reusable services enable faster development of new application and features. Let's see the disadvantages of service-oriented architecture. Okay, complexity. Managing a large number of services can lead to increased architectural complexity, requiring robust governance and management practices. Performance overhead. Communication between services over a network can introduce latency, impacting performance. And some time to check those performance, we have another type of testing, which is performance load testing, using various tools. So for example, JMeter is one of them. We have load testing, for example, for 100 users or those concurrent users for a specific window time. We run the load test, we see what is the performance of those APIs, the 90th percentile, the 95th percentiles, all those configurations and key aspects we have. We see within how many seconds we are getting the response from the provider, API provider, right? So all those things we validate. So performance overhead can be an issue because everything that the handshaking, etc., everything that is happening over network, right? So there might be some latency related issues. Initial development cost, designing and implementing an SOA can be more costly upfront compared to simpler architectures. Let's see the use cases for service oriented architecture. Okay, in these scenarios we can use the service oriented architecture. One is enterprise applications. Large organizations often use SOA to integrate disparate systems and applications, providing a unified approach to business processes. So it is very popular architecture style to be true. Service oriented architecture is very popular. Cloud services. Many cloud native applications are built on service oriented architecture principles, leveraging microservices that can be independently deployed and scaled. So we just saw that it's a kind of hybrid. We are talking about hybrid architecture solution here. So within SOA and for a particular provider, the provider is leveraging the microservices architecture. So like I said, we can always tailor the architecture style or pattern to as per the need of the business. Legacy system integration. SOA facilitates the integration of older systems with modern applications, enabling businesses to leverage existing investments. Finally, the summary. Service-oriented architecture SOA offers a powerful framework for building flexible, scalable, and maintainable software systems. By promoting loose coupling and interoperability, SOA allows organizations to respond more effectively to changing business requirements and technological advancements. However, it also requires careful planning and governance to manage its inherent complexity effectively.